Have you ever wondered if the story of Adam and Eve that we all grew up with is the complete truth? What if I told you that there is an ancient text, hidden for centuries, that reveals a whole different side to this iconic biblical tale? Prepare to have your mind blown, because in this video, we're going to dive into the Ethiopian Bible and uncover the real, unfiltered story of the first man and woman. Get ready to see the Genesis creation story in a whole new light. For centuries, the story of Adam and Eve has been a cornerstone of Christianity and Judaism. We've all grown up learning about how God created the first man and woman, placing them in the Garden of Eden, and how they were tempted by the serpent to eat the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge. This decision led to their banishment from the garden, the birth of sin, and the beginning of humanity's struggle on earth. But what if I told you that this version of events is only half the story? That there is an ancient text preserved for generations in Ethiopia that provides a strikingly different and much more detailed account of what really happened in the Garden of Eden. The Ethiopian Bible, also known as the Kebra Nagast, is an extraordinary religious text that has been shrouded in mystery for centuries, and buried within its pages lies a version of the Adam and Eve story that completely upends what we thought we knew. The Ethiopian Bible is one of the oldest and most comprehensive biblical canons in the world. It contains 81 books compared to the 66 books found in the standard Protestant Bible. Many of these extra books were excluded from the biblical canon by the Christian Church centuries ago, but they have remained an integral part of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's scriptures. One of the most significant of these extra books is the Kebra Nagast, or the Glory of the Kings. This 700-page text is considered the national epic of Ethiopia, and it provides a detailed account of the lineage of the Ethiopian monarchy, tracing it all the way back to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. But the Kebra Nagast is much more than just a royal genealogy. Embedded within its pages is a version of the Adam and Eve story that differs vastly from the one found in the standard Bible. This alternative telling sheds new light on the origins of humanity and the true nature of the events in the Garden of Eden. According to Kebra Nagast, the story of Adam and Eve begins not with their creation, but with the fall of the archangel Lucifer from heaven. The text states that Lucifer, also known as the devil or Satan, was once a highly respected angel in God's kingdom, but he became consumed by pride and ambition, and he tried to overthrow God and take his throne. This rebellion led to a great battle in heaven, with Lucifer and his followers fighting against the loyal angels. In the end, Lucifer and his forces were defeated and cast down to earth, where they became known as demons. It's at this point that the creation of Adam and Eve enters the story. The Kebra Nagast says that God decided to create human beings as a way to fill the void left by Lucifer's rebellion. Adam and Eve were meant to be the new caretakers of the earth, and God gave them the Garden of Eden as their home. But the story doesn't end there. According to the Ethiopian text, Lucifer was not content with his defeat. Filled with rage and jealousy, he devised a plan to corrupt God's new creations, Adam and Eve. Disguising himself as a serpent, Lucifer slithered into the Garden of Eden and approached Eve. The Kebra Nagast describes a much more elaborate and sinister temptation than the version found in the standard Bible. Lucifer didn't just tell Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. He convinced her that by doing so, she and Adam would become like gods, with the power to create life and rule over the earth. Eve was mesmerized by this promise of divine knowledge and power, and she convinced Adam to join her in disobeying God's command. When God discovered what Adam and Eve had done, he was heartbroken and furious. But according to the Ethiopian text, his response was much more severe than in the traditional Bible story. Rather than simply banishing them from the Garden of Eden, God stripped Adam and Eve of their divine powers and cursed them to a life of suffering, toil, and mortality on earth. The Kebra Nagast goes into harrowing detail about the consequences that befell Adam and Eve as a result of their sin. It describes how their bodies underwent a dramatic transformation, losing their original divine form and becoming weak, vulnerable, and prone to sickness and death. More significantly, the text states that Adam and Eve also lost their ability to create life through divine power. Instead, They were forced to engage in physical, carnal relations in order to reproduce, a process that the Kebra Nagast portrays as shameful and degrading. According to the Ethiopian Bible, this was all part of Lucifer's sinister plan. By tempting Adam and Eve to disobey God, he was able to corrupt the purity of God's creation and rob humanity of its divine potential. The text states that Lucifer's ultimate goal was to ensure that all of Adam and Eve's descendants would be born into a state of sin and suffering, doomed to live out their days in a world that had been tainted by his malevolence. The revelations contained within the Kebra Nagast represent a stark contrast to the version of the Adam and Eve story that is commonly taught in Christianity and Judaism. Rather than a simple tale of temptation and disobedience, the Ethiopian text paints a much darker and more complex picture of the events in the Garden of Eden. By including the backstory of Lucifer's rebellion in heaven and his deliberate plot to corrupt humanity, the Kebra Nagast provides a deeper understanding of the cosmic stakes involved. It suggests that the fate of Adam and Eve was not just about their own personal failings, but about the ongoing cosmic battle between the forces of good and evil. Furthermore, the Ethiopian Bible's portrayal of the consequences of Adam and Eve's sin is much more severe and far-reaching than the standard biblical account. Rather than just being banished from the garden, they were fundamentally transformed, stripped of their divine powers, and condemned to a life of suffering, a fate that would be passed down to all of their descendants. This alternative telling of the Genesis creation story raises important questions about the nature of sin, the origins of human mortality and suffering, and the role of the divine in shaping the human condition. It suggests that the version of events that has been passed down through the Judeo-Christian tradition may be incomplete or even distorted. In a world where so much of our understanding of human origins and the divine is shaped by the biblical narratives that have been handed down to us, the Kebra Nagast offers a refreshingly different perspective. By delving into this ancient Ethiopian text, we can gain a deeper and more nuanced understanding of the story of Adam and Eve, one that challenges our preconceptions and opens up new avenues of exploration. The revelations contained within the Kebra Nagast remind us that there is often more than one side to every story, and that the official version may not always be the complete or accurate one. By broadening our horizons and considering alternative sources, we can gain a richer and more profound understanding of the human condition and our relationship to the divine. So the next time you hear the story of Adam and Eve, I encourage you to remember the hidden secrets of the Ethiopian Bible. Let this ancient text expand your perspective and open your mind to the possibility that there may be more to this iconic tale than meets the eye. Who knows what other hidden truths might be waiting to be uncovered?